Hi everybody, we're live today, 2023, April 29th. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is 1:20 p.m. We are watching a Devin Nash video. I already watched this one. I found some spots I might want to add some commentary into. And besides that, pretty much just trying to figure out what I'm doing today, but maybe make some content out of this. Might be able to make a few clips. Might be able to put them up on YouTube. And then I have another idea where later on, if I want to, if I want to comment on the video even later, what I could do is I can then make like a cabbage and like hover it on OBS over the person's head that I want to like put their mindset in. That's the Cabbage Brain Takes version of the video. And I would record those off stream or on stream possibly. But that would be interesting, I think. Like
you project your
I forgot to open up all the chats. I forgot to open up the chats. Okay. Right now I'm just kind of mentally preparing myself. Okay, not this song. Okay. So basically, I forgot to change. I forgot to change the video game category on Twitch. Oh no. I don't think we're playing Final Fantasy right now. I don't think so. We might. Next month's XP capacity points event. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna be getting lots of job points when we start doing Final Fantasy 11 next month in May. May or may not do that on stream, but I'll try. We of course always have Horizon to play. However, right now I do want to get this thing started where like at the very beginning of my live streams, I kind of get my bearings. Like kind of just get my bearings first. Where am I at today? Where am I trying to go? What kind of message am I putting out in the world? Okay, so these are the kind of things I ask myself in the morning. Usually it's about like this like sweet spot where you just start the stream, you work all that out, and then suddenly there's like kind of like a okay, let's go. And then you lift off into the horizon. And I don't know. I think it's a good system. But then after that, what I do is I then like, focus and like make some like content for YouTube or something. So that's kind of what we're doing right now is I'm going to be responding to a Devin Nash video. So without further ado, I'm just going to get started with that. This song sucks anyway. I mean, not that it sucks, it's just that the singing is kind of annoying. Okay, let's take off the it's just the quality of the voice. It sounds like a style that I don't really like. Like basically like over again, like let me check my mic input levels because I remember it does reset itself for some random reason. It's like ghosts in the machine. I just have to do it manually every time. It doesn't really make a difference. I just check manually every time. Okay, it's at 41. Is the microphone input levels. Okay, let's get ourselves going. We got a video to respond to. Selling one-time purchase versus so we're gonna I'm gonna start here for now, and then we're gonna go back to the beginning of the VOD. But basically, what we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna be like just like watching a key things, and I'm gonna pause and respond to things that I feel like I need to pause and respond to. I usually don't like talking at the same time as somebody else. I don't want to take their time away, and I don't want I'm gonna skip past a few things in the VOD today, but we're gonna get on to the next thing. But I just thought I would add a few commentary.
Yourself onto your heroes, and you say, I want and have this problem where you project yourself onto your heroes, and you say, I want to be that. I want to be that dude. But onto other people, especially human beings exist. We will always project ourselves onto other people, especially men have this problem where you project yourself onto your heroes and you say, I want to be that. I want to be that dude. But instead of doing that, you should say, I can do that. I can be that and more.
And this is where I thought while I was watching it, but I held that thought because I wanted to, let him cook. I just realized, like, that's the difference between a male and a female brain, I think. At least a part of it, right? Like, there's something there because I noticed I think women have a better capability of being content with ourselves and not needing external validation. And I know that obviously there's always exceptions, and this goes true for both, for everything going on. But it's just kind of like that. As long as you're imagining a parasocial relationship with somebody and feeling like this person is going to fulfill your needs, you're not going to be able to reach your full potential because you're not even paying attention to the one person who matters, at least as far as like believing in and like trusting, which is yourself. Okay, I know it sounds really cliche, but I mean, it's really like that.
In my own definition, in my own way, I'm going to do that. It reminds me of the famous story in Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha where Siddhartha meets the Buddha in this.
So this is a book. We read it in high school. I read it in like 11th grade, I think. Yeah, I remember reading Siddhartha. There's a scene that I think is actually really important to understand, is where it's about not spending too much money. Basically, like it's like a town or like a village or something like that, where like they'd only eat rice once a week, and between that time they just drink the water that they use to, like, they just run water through it like a tea almost, but like just to like wash the rice, and they save the rice for like later, and they only eat the rice like once a week, but the rest of the week they just drink the rice water. And it's like basically like, making sure that everybody has their resources instead of trying to, they could just eat all the rice, but then they would go hungry, because they don't have enough rice to ration out that way. So sometimes you need to be able to ration out your inventory.
Story, he meets himself, and he explains he thinks Buddhism is absolutely the best spiritual discipline, but despite that, there's only one better. Buddha asks, what's that? And he says, it's my way, right? My dharma, what I'm going to do. And that's...
Yeah, I mean, you got to look out for yourself, because nobody else is going to... I mean, there are going to be people who look out for you. Don't get it twisted. There's definitely people who are on your team. But, you have to have internal understanding, like, at the core, you're the number one thing that you have to pay attention to, because that's the person you have the most information about, which means you're in the most crucial, the most important driving seat. So it's absolutely important that you understand yourself and how to get yourself to where you need to be, and what will help you, even if it might be the same as somebody else, even if it might be different than somebody else. Like, somebody needs to fill those shoes. Why not let that person be you? The person with the most information. It means you have to do some extra work, but I believe it pays off.
What you need to take away from it, always write your path, and what you do and what you figure out with your own hard work, with your own sweat, with your own passion is always going to be better than projecting yourself. But if you haven't done the spiritual work to understand that, you're going to get stuck in these honey traps where people sell you memberships and you project yourself onto them.
So these like let me repeat that.
If you haven't done the spiritual work to understand that.
So as far as if you haven't done, okay, so spiritual work, it doesn't have to be, see, I think everybody's kind of brainwashed into thinking that spiritual work is just the same as any other kind of work that we do in our life, which in a way, a lot of ways it is. But think of it this way. Spiritual work could be understanding that you look up at your shelf and you see a toothbrush that you specifically put yourself there, in the past, and you realize I need to brush my teeth at some point, like soon. Which means I just ate, I rinsed out, now I need to brush my teeth. But will I do that at this moment? Maybe. But, there's these questions that you have, like, that could be a spiritual understanding. It doesn't have to be this big giant thing where you climb a fucking mountain. It could be. In fact, you may want it to be. In fact, that's what you need in some cases. Some people need to climb the mountain, even if the mountain doesn't need to be climbed. Do you understand?
That you're going to get stuck in these honey traps where people sell you memberships and you project yourself onto them. And I've dealt with dozens and dozens and dozens of people.
And, obviously the thing with products is I think that, like, when you have something that will create value in that person's life, even if you don't believe that value should be something that is valuable, do you understand? Like, as a salesperson, you might be believing that, like, this sucker is buying this shit. Why? But the thing is like, if you're thinking about it that way, it's like, I think that's the wrong way to think about it. I think it's like, this person literally wants to spend money on something. Wouldn't you rather them get your low quality product compared to someone else's low quality product, which may even be worse than yours? So you should say, hey, I know that this is a shitty product, but mine won't get you killed. Okay. Like, hey, this is a shitty product, but mine won't get you in, like, legal trouble and, like, with your wife. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things where you can offer a product even though it's trash. You're like, well, my trash is consistent. My trash gets the job done. My trash won't get you in trouble anywhere. My trash won't, mess you up psychologically. Like,
over the years where I've convinced them out of these courses and things like that because of this, because I just know the psychology.
And like, convincing somebody who spent the money on a course, like some kind of like, person who sets themselves out as some kind of like hero or like a spiritual leader or like a, president of the United States or, people like that who are really good at scamming people, who can say like, hey, what I'm offering is not worth this, but I'm giving it to you and you're paying it and you like paying it because I say that you like paying it. Like, but they see that as a win for them. I don't know why, but for those people, they're lost. Hopefully through my product, they could get found, but I can't expect people to like buy anything that I would offer and get some life-changing experience. Okay, that's inside of them. But literally, the cool thing about this is that literally anything in the world at any given moment in time can be one of those moments. And it has nothing to do with me. I could literally not lift a finger and it would still happen. However, if they also give me money for a product that is supposedly supposed to help them get there, I would rather take the money, but it might actually help them. You could argue that because I set them on the path, it got them closer to it. So it's debatable, but I do think that I would rather have a better life than have a worse life, which means like I would rather make money than not make money. I do understand Devin's ethical dilemmas that he does have. I understand from his point of view, he's in a position where he can have morally ethic disagreements. And so, like, not everybody's in that position. And he even admits himself in this video, actually, that just because he has an ethical issue with something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. In fact, he encourages people to do it because he's in a situation in his life where he doesn't really need to be making money on of courses and content, and he could literally be like, I mean, he's like in with like Twitch staff and shit like that, like, and like executive, like people on YouTube and like Twitter and like I mean, I don't know, like, I'm not trying to like paint him off as a hero or anything, but he kind of is like in a position where it's like most people will never get in his position. In fact, I'll say most people will not get in his position. In fact, I would never be in his position. You know why? Because I'm not Devin Nash. I'm Rebecca Lauren. I'll be in my position. And my position is what matters. Because it's my position. It's the one where I'm living. I'm in the steering wheel. Okay? And it's like, I feel like what we're doing right now in today's world, where we have like video commentary with like me and like a little webcam, and Devin has a green screen, so he's over there blended into the video, into the background, like a goblin demon. That's what he is. I mean, I'm a goblin demon too. I just look pretty. And he's an attractive guy. I'm just being funny for content. No, he's an attractive man. I'm an attractive woman. It's okay. There's people out there who would rather be with me than with him, but that's because those are people who would rather be with me. Like, so there's people in my camp, in the school of thought of the universe that we put ourselves off the internet. There are people in my camp. Sometimes it's the raccoon that's eating your lunch, but they're still in your camp. They're there.
Well, but now you understand the psychology. You understand how ongoing services like that charge for money. Now that's quite.
Now let's start over from the beginning here, because we're gonna continue later on. But let's get back to the beginning of the video.
Today we're gonna talk about products versus memberships. Basically, do you sell something for a reoccurring amount of money, or do you sell a flat product or service? And as a business owner, you have to make a decision on which one you are going to do. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of both, and we're going to go over sort of like what a subscription model looks like as far as your time invested, and what a product looks like as far as your time invested, and some of the pros and cons of both.
Okay, so like maybe that could have happened like at 19 seconds.
And we're going to go over sort of like what a subscription model looks.
Okay, so it's important that it's really important that he's like letting us know, the people watching, it's really important that he's letting us know exactly what the video's about right off the bat. Like, he didn't start off with like, hey, like, what's up, guys? Like, hey, you want to play some League of Legends? Hey, let's hang out for 3 hours and then we'll talk about content. Like, no, like, he gets right into it, and he starts talking about it. So he tells you exactly what to expect. If you want to pause it for later, if you want to, like, never watch it again, that's your time to decide it. And he just, like, he knows that anybody watching past that is probably going to watch the whole video. And he makes 40-minute videos. And so he really knows the kind of psychology of his viewer, where if you let somebody know exactly what's going on, that is a part of the equation of having somebody understand that when they watch this video, this is what they're going to get at it. And they might have unexpected things happen during it. So they also have that. It's not just that. And it's not just the other thing. It's both of those things working simultaneously, possibly even together.
Hi, today we're going to talk about products versus memberships. Basically, do you sell something for a reoccurring amount of money, or do you sell a flat product or service? And as a today we're going to talk about products versus memberships. Basically, do you sell something for a reoccurring amount of money, or do you sell a flat product or service? And as a
okay, so the thing is like, there's a lot of things that can constitute what a flat product or service is. Not a surface. If you're selling a surface, that's something. Actually, a surface is something you could sell as a flat product. If you have the number one surface made out of this material, that people want to buy yours because it doesn't break, because if might have problems, but you're only working with a certain type of material, and you have to work within the law of physics, because you can't break the laws of physics, Captain. But you might have a surface that you're gonna sell, and you're like, hey, like, it's a $2,900, for your kitchen area. you know, that's how much it would cost to do your specific kitchen using this material in this style or whatever. And then they buy it. And then what you find out is because it's a certain X type of material, it does require like more frequent washing, or it actually will be destroyed in like 3 years or something like that. So then you contract out cleaners on a case-by-case basis that will actually do the cleaning for you. If they purchased like a specific plan or something, like they might have paid like an extra $2,500 up front to get that service. And it's not ongoing. It's only the first 3 years. So after 3 years, you have a decision to make on whether you see that. I feel like that's kind of what he's talking about here. Because what you can do is then you could just contract it out on a case-by-case basis. You don't have to pay employees every single time. You can pay a contracted employee and just they use a specific equipment that you've purchased specifically for that purpose that you just then let them use, which does have liability issues, which means that you can only hire people who are trustworthy, who are probably not going to steal your shit. So that has issues. Or you could just say, hey, you provide your own stuff, which also has issues because then it's like if they're contracted under you and they're doing some like a meth lab or something, like while they're doing their like your job like that. So there's like two sides of the issues. I think the first one would be the preferable one because at least it's then your control. You do have liability issues, but then you can't say like, oh, I let this person bring like freaking meth lab onto the field like with my name on the van, like you know what I mean? Like, you don't want stuff like that happening. The more people you get involved in things, the more things can go sour. And I think when money's involved, it's like multiply that by 100. So you really do only want to work with yourself. And you might find a second or third person to work with. And I think that's a goal that we should aim in our life, to have someone that we can wholeheartedly trust. People in our lives that we know, like we've known them for like 25 years. They are part of us. They are like family, or they are family. Like people that you would say, I would trust this person with a knife to my neck. Like those kind of people, you know, like those are rare type of people. You can only have maybe like 2 or 3 people like that in your life. I think. But basically you should start with yourself because you can't control whether or not other people can be in that circle. If you can't trust yourself, how can you trust anyone else? You have to trust yourself. And especially I think when money's involved, you can never trust somebody that's making money off of you. However, you can trust that may play into your favor because you are looking out for you and because you see that there's an opportunity that is going to help you. And even if it's something that you don't 100% morally agree with, you've investigated the problem. You've determined that it's safe. It will not affect you negatively. Maybe you may have an issue with a certain person that works there, but that person isn't even involved in this. They're not creatively involved. In fact, what you're doing is actually for a cause that you believe in, and it has nothing to do with that creator, that other creator, or that executive that like did a bad thing and that you saw on social media, or you know, like anything like that. So you have to calculate these things because sometimes it is a bad thing to do something like you are contributing to evil. In some cases, I think those are very rare. I think there are very rare cases where you will actually like have an issue like that.
A business owner, you have to make a decision on which one you are going to do. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of both. And we're going to go over sort of like what a subscription model looks like as far as your time invested, and what a product looks like as far as your time invested, and some of the pros and cons of both. Okay. So the most important thing to understand here is, first of all, there is no real right answer.
Okay. So you know what Netflix needs to stop doing? They need to stop doing things that nobody wants, first of all. But second of all, they've got to start, if they're going to do an ad plan, they need to not do what Disney did and create 2 separate plans, one with ads and one without ads. They need to offer Netflix either on 2 plans, one which is free but requires making an account with an email, valid email, and then a plan to get rid of the ads that's very affordable, like $5. Okay, they're going to infinitely there's going to be infinitely more people watching the free version. There's even going to be people like, there's going to be people like, maybe you're watching a movie like the Magic School Bus for like a group of third graders at a school, and literally a school is using Netflix to help enhance and enrich children's lives. And then Netflix gets all the ad money because maybe the teacher pre-watches the ad for them. And then the teacher's probably more likely to buy those products. If you put ads in it that way, I think that's a good compromise, and you'll make infinitely more money than if you do what Disney does. See, the reason Disney can do it is because they're fucking Disney, and you're not Disney. You're not Disney, okay? Devin says that later in the video. He says, like, the only reason Disney can get away with this and make tons of money is because there are exceptions, such as memberships are way better for people who are very well established, have a very high quality product, and who will just like make crazy infinitely amount more money because they just have like their brand. Like if XQC started making like toilet seats, and he personally sat down on every one of them to do what I will not say. But he's personally sat down on every one of them, and then he signed them with some kind of permanent ink. Okay, someone's gonna buy those. In fact, even if he didn't sign them, they'd still buy them. Even if he didn't he just has to make a video, so he only has to sit on one. But then all the other seats look exactly like the one in the video, so they just sell like millions of toilet seats that they made for like 2 cents each, and like sell them for like $20 each. People are gonna buy it. They find value in it, apparently. So who am I to argue? I'd rather take the money. Like if they're gonna give me money, I'm okay with that.
Answer. I'll just like assign my bias because I just run so much of both that I have seen that product is basically almost universally the better option, except for like a few variables. But both will work for you. It's not as if like one model. So like model number one, we'll say, is you build a product and sell the product or service, right? And model number two is you build an ongoing product and service and charge monthly for that product service. These are basically the two.
Okay, so the thing about these have different, both of these have different like suppositions about the kind of person who is trying to make a business model. So that's really important because he mentions these things throughout the video. Basically, the TLDR is that if you have a product that you can make, something like a book or a course or a apple pie or a catering service or an internet janitor service, or like you hire people, like what if you hire a moderation agency where you hire people to be Twitch moderators or YouTube moderators or Instagram moderators, etc., etc. They moderate for social media influencers. That would be a service. But the product would be something that those influencers are pushing. So that's the real sale, because the people are buying the products. They're not buying the moderation team. The content creator or their agent or whatever is the one purchasing that service. You can't really market that to anyone in a very large scale. But what you can market is like an energy drink. Because if you have an energy drink, it doesn't even matter what brand it is. Somebody's going to want it because they want to stay up all night playing fucking League of Legends. Okay, and they're with their friends. They're making memories that's going to last them for an entire lifetime, possibly create lifelong friendships through gaming. You know that you fueled that with unhealthy amounts of caffeine, and you can take pride in that, knowing that you created lifelong connections just by creating a product that anybody could have made. But you put it behind a certain vision, you put it behind a certain image and a certain name. Like, it's an energy drink that people can just say, like, what's that guy, the largest man in the world, Thor, he has an energy drink series called Rain. I've actually had it. It's hella good. There's one that tastes like fucking um like bubble gum or something like that. Yeah, so like I don't know. That's not even about like, obviously you should have a safe and FDA. And so the thing when you get into food, you have to deal with like the FDA, you have to deal with all that, but it's assuming you've already dealt with all that and you have a solid product that's been tested, researched, you have like a team of people who make it and then you found a way to mass produce it and now you want to make a patent, now you want to sell it, now you want to attach it to sponsors. I mean, you want to sponsor people, so you want to bring it to people who are like, hey, who are the type of people who might be able to sell this energy drink most? What are our values and which content creators have those same values? And so you're going to see people who are looking for maybe the people who make the energy drink believe in making the world a healthier place by making sure that if people, they don't have, obviously they know that they are gamers themselves, but they believe in a mission where mental health does not have to take a back seat to your hobbies and to the things that bring you joy. In fact, it's an crucial part of it. So if those were the kind of people you're marketing to, those people are going to be wanting to drink energy drinks, but you also know that those people are trying to learn how to live a healthier life. And so maybe you're going to market to that person anyway because you are trying to game the system. And this is where the ethical issue comes in, is because you know that these people are recovering addicts. Like, for example, like there's a lot of drug addicts in the chat, and you're selling them an energy drink, which might even be a gateway to harder drugs. But it's not, obviously it's not you. You should never feel like you contributed to a problem unless you're literally directly contributing to someone's problem. Like it's your product. Like you're creating a product. You try to make it as healthy as possible. But it is, at the end of the day, it is a caffeine related product. It is designed to give you energy and to increase your heart rate, which is a health risk. And people drink the energy drink at their own risk. And a lot of people refuse to look at the risks. And that's a problem, but it's not your problem. But maybe you would rather sponsor that streamer than somebody who's going to be like shilling it. No, even if it's like, trying to make the most money possible. Or you could work with that content creator who's promoting, education and like health information. And you're like, if I was going to sell a product, because all of these people sell energy drinks. In fact, this content creator might even get an offer one day that they're going to take because it's like a healthier energy drink. Well, what if we make a healthier energy drink and we become that person? And then they make themselves that person. They solve that streamer's problem by offering a money deal to offer their product or to advertise their product. And so then that person is very happy about it, I would assume. And then the company made a product that they're able to sell. They actually have a very solid, like maybe let's say after this venture, they have 10,000 drinks that they sell per month. Let's just say 10,000 for the sake of argument. So they have 10,000 people that they sell to each month. Let's open up Notepad. So let's say you have 1,000 people, 10,000 people that buy a $3.95, a $4 energy drink. Okay, so that's $40,000 a month. Okay. And you're more, and in this case, because the values align between the two the two parties, this is a pretty consistent number. However, if you shield to someone else, and maybe one month you make 50,000, 50K, 50K, 50KX, Y, 50KY. And then, but then the next month you make like 3K. Um, Y is just for energy drink. Uh, and then the next month you make 0. And actually, you have 0. And then the next month you have like 10. And then the next month you have like 89K. And then the next month you have like 2K, 20K, and then maybe like 2K, and then maybe 90K. Like, etc., etc.
Two options. I have found that model number 1 just works better every time, almost. And there are a couple of exceptions to it not working. Now, you might say, well, Devin, you're on model number 2. And I will say, yes, I am on model number 2, but I'm on that model, as you'll find out, ethically, but not because it's more effective, which is often things that I do, right? So I want to get into like some of the value propositions of both, but with the caveat that both of these ideas are going to work for you. It just depends on the kind of like where you end up. Maybe after watching a video like this and doing some more research, people will sort of have their own decisions. And
in the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. Like everything that you watch, whether it's a Devin Nash video, and or whether it's like some other video, or whether it's some other person in your life, at every moment in your life, you're taking in information and you're collating it, swimming around in your head. And every now and then you see something happen in your immediate environment and you recall something that's swimming around, and then you go, okay, let's grab that and put it next to it. And then it starts to grab more. And then suddenly you have a fuller idea of something. And I think at the end of the day, you have to understand your own funnel that you are going to create that is going to get the people who are most in need of having your product to solve their problem. That is the journey. That is the quest. Everything that you do is only something along your path to that quest, which could literally be anything. You could literally sit down in a chair, stare at a wall, and you have a plan that's set in place that even if that's what all you did, you would still make $5 million. Okay? So, that being said, you create that as your new 0. And now you're trying to look for ways to maximize it, and that's a trap that you can get to because you can always move the goalpost to a different 0. But what you can never do is you can never stop yourself from changing. So you're going to get used to it, and then you're going to want more of what? I don't know. But you're going to want more of something, and it's something that you need to psychologically understand. Anytime you buy something or anytime you sell something, there's a reason for it. That reason may be good, may be bad, maybe completely neutral, which potentially exists. There's potentially something about neutrality. I don't know.
Most important thing to understand is buyer psychology. This is something that is really hard to explain, and it will make sense once you kind of get it. So if you look at when somebody is buying a product, okay? If they buy a product, their thinking is, I want to buy a product because I need to solve a problem. So, for example, if I want to write in a book, then I'm going to buy 2 products, and here's my book, and here's my pen. And both of these things were bought with the objective of solving this problem of wanting to write in this book. Now, it may not be that direct of a conversation in a customer's mind. It often is, though. It often is like you go to the store or you go to Amazon to buy something specific. But the important thing to remember when you are deciding if you want to structure a product or ongoing service is this idea in a customer's head. So I've bought this book, I've bought this pen, And now I can solve this problem. And that was a one-time decision, and that decision is done. I don't need any more books, and I don't need any more pens unless I have additional problems to solve. So buying a product is a one-time impression in a customer's mind. Now, when you sign up for a service or ongoing service, every single time that service enters your mind, there is a value proposition that is presented. So
and so the pretty much like what he's talking about here is that if you sell somebody something for like $20 and they will never come to you to buy something again, is that a lifetime value is that lifetime value proposition going to be worth more money than if you had 5 people that were paying you $1 a month, but they lasted for an entire year? But you have no way of knowing if they will, because they can back out any time. So like $20, or let's say you have 20 people giving you $1 a month. That first month, it's going to be $20 either way. However, they're going to be constantly thinking about whether or not they want to pay the next month. And then you might just lose a lot of money over time. Instead of what you could be doing is you could be marketing to sell more of individual sales of that $20 product, because then you could be making $20, but you're selling 100 a month to different people. As long as you average about 100 people that are buying that product, you'll be making $2,000 a month. So if you have a $20 product that you sell to 100 people, that's $2,000 of revenue a month. So I'm just trying to figure out how this whole business game works. And that's why I watch someone like Devin Nash. And, it could be anyone else, but he's proven his worth in the marketing game time and time again. And so I only listen to people who've proven their worth if I'm really wanting an accurate information that's going to probably be helpful. Like, I'm not going to try to learn basketball from someone who's never played basketball before. Like, who'd want to learn business from me? But what they can learn is my attempt at trying to understand what people like Devin Nash is saying, and possibly even adding value, because then it gives people like him more things to think about to help people like me. And I think that's it's a synergetic symbiosis. It's a symbiosis. It's a symbiotic relationship that content creators have with each other. You could call it parasocial. I don't think that's what it is. I think this is more of the nitty-gritty technical aspect of just what content creation is. And what content creation is it's literally a human being's effort to put something onto a format that can be widely spread via electronic communications. I'm not going to repeat that. It's in the VOD. But, what was I saying?
I'm going to use Netflix as an example. And if you know anything about Netflix, you know that this year they're struggling a lot with subscriber revenue. And if you understand what I'm about to explain, you'll understand, I think, the core of this psychology problem with these two services. When I sign up for Netflix, or let's say I'll use another example. So I'm going to use 2 examples. So Netflix is going to be my number 1 ongoing subscription, and my number 2 is going to be my yoga studio. Okay, so my yoga studio, I pay like $120 for myself and my SO,
and so basically what he's going to be saying here is you have something like Netflix that's only $15 a month, let's say, and you have a yoga studio that's $120 a month. However, with Netflix, every time you watch Netflix, is probably going to be very often. It might be like once a day. That's very often, which is fine. That's a normal use case. But a yoga studio, you might only go to like a certain number of times, but like you're getting a lot out of it. You're getting personal, like you have a health plan. You have people who might be able to assist you. You have their facilities. You have their instructors. Like, it's a yoga studio. You're you're getting a lot for it. But with Netflix, like you could, like $15 a month. Like, do you really watch that many movies or shows? Maybe you want to actually watch less shows because you think it's unhealthy. Well, every time that you think about Netflix, even if you see it on Twitter, even if someone mentions Netflix, you're going to be questioning whether or not you want to continue to spend that money on that product. And same with the yoga studio, but in a different scale. And so the problem with that, it might be fine in a lot of cases. Like he mentions, like in the case where let's say you're someone like OTK, like you're an OTK streamer, and for the context of like OTK and like streaming and all that kind of stuff, like someone like Asmongold can just fucking like show up, no cam, play World of Warcraft, and people are still gonna buy stuff for some reason. And they're gonna give him that money every month. And he can do that because he's playing the numbers. He has so many numbers. He has so many people watching. He could just basically roll the dice and it's fine. It statistically works out. And even if it worked out at 0, it'll work out eventually. Like, just give it a little bit more time. Like, say, like, hey, like maybe make a few, higher effort contents, and like it'll get new viewers, and like you just recycle the whole thing. And you just do that again and again and again. So that's a very rare type of business person. That's a very rare type of content creator. For most people, you're going to not be able to really capitalize on that too well. In fact, someone like me still needs to get those people to even want to show up and invest their time. And if somebody's not willing to invest their time, they're definitely not willing to invest their money, which is why I give the most importance and like I try to treat everyone importantly as people. However, as far as like people who want their money's worth, if somebody spends money, I'm going to try to help those people feel like they got something out of it. For some people, just giving the money in and of itself is actually satisfying to them. Don't ask me why. You'd have to, maybe don't even ask them. In fact, maybe you should mind your own business and let people spend their money. Isn't that what being a democracy is about? So you can spend your money anywhere you want. Isn't that what America's about? And when we set out to do something, even if it's shooting ourselves in the own foot, it's still something that we decided because we're Americans.
Netflix, it's like what, $15 now, and I pay every month. Every time that I see a bill come in from them, or actually even if I am impressed upon by that place, I make a separate value judgment of whether that service or ongoing service is worth it for me to continue. So for Netflix, for example, the big problem they're running into right now is that about 2 or 3 years ago, they put in about $2 billion on building up content. And now they are running into an issue where they literally just don't have enough content and they're losing subscribers like crazy. What is happening?
Yeah, and so the problem is like basically everybody already watched what they want to watch, and now they no longer want to. They're like, why am I subscribed for Netflix? They're not even putting anything good out. And obviously that's a very subjective, very guessworky thing. And if you start losing your subscribers and your primary business model is that you're making 15 times whatever X amount of people you can retain on the platform, but like people are becoming less and less willing to pay $15 for VOD for video on demand for like movies and TV shows. In fact, usually people just watch YouTube because it's free, or they watch Twitch streams. I don't know why, but they do. I do know why, but I'm not going to tell you. Not unless you buy my course for $199. Then I'll tell you exactly why.
There.
But like what I was saying earlier about the whole like the Buddhist thing. Your service, or your product is going to be a one-time thing, but people might buy it multiple times. And that's what you should be counting on, instead of whether you can get more people to make that decision every single month on whether or not they want to keep putting money into it. That's way too many dice that you're rolling. You want to roll one dice, but then roll that dice separately by a lot. So if you have 100 people buying your product, but no matter what happens, you make that money, you don't have, maybe you have a money back guarantee or something, but that doesn't happen very often, enough to be a concern. And plus, there's a possibility that those people might even come back and buy stuff, but you've already accepted in your business model, you already calculated that you're not trying to get repeat customers. You're making a product or a service, like you're trying to sell that toilet seat, and you know that people need a toilet seat, and you know that there's always going to be somebody who needs to buy a toilet seat. And you've established yourself as being a good quality toilet seat at a certain point, hopefully. And so, like being able to understand that it doesn't matter if the person doesn't come back to buy more, as long as you're solving a problem. Their problem is that they didn't want to, the toilet seat broke and they wanted a new toilet seat. They didn't need to watch a YouTuber to find it. They didn't need to go subscribe to an email newsletter. They didn't need to go to some event where they learned about timeshares. Okay, they went to the store to get a toilet seat because that's what the store does. They sell home improvement stuff or something like that. So they sell toilet seats. In fact, that might be all they sell. And then you have like 100 different brands and you don't know which one to buy, but you just grab the first one that looks like, the same color as yours. And then the next time you just buy it, you might buy a different one next time, but at least that product got sold that one time. And so basically you might be like, a more established brand that's going to get more recognition, that people are going to be more willing to buy than some other one they've never heard of before, especially if the product is identical. Like it's the exact same product. Not even more quality, not even less quality, literally the exact same product, but it has that name recognition and suddenly someone's willing to pay $20 for it. The other one's like $15, but it's some no-name brand and people don't want to know what it is, so they just don't want to buy it. Or you're guaranteed to get the person who wants to get the sale. They're like, I don't care, even if it was broken, they would still buy it for $15 because they save $5 out of principle, because that's the psychology of a buyer. People have the reason why is because an individual buyer is just a person. And people have minds and lives of their own. They have situations they might be in. You have no idea of knowing what those are. You have no idea of knowing what your customer or your client, which if you Google the definition of client, client is a person under your trust. Definition of client. A person or organization using the service. A plebeian under the... Okay, so this is the origin of the word. Is a plebeian under the protection of a patrician. Or, obviously a desktop computer or workstation that's capable of obtaining information applications for server. That's obviously not what we're talking about. But it's under the protection of someone. Your clients, it's a difference than a client and a customer. Like a customer is someone you sell something to. A client is someone who's in your care. Someone that you are looking out for. They're coming to you to solve their problem. They trust in you. They could trust in someone else, but they trust you. And so you're going to give them something that will solve their problem, and you are protecting them. That is a much more meaningful connection than considering people that you work with as your customers. A customer is somebody that wants to buy something, and they give you money, and then you don't care about them. Okay? A client is someone that you've developed a connection with. This is somebody who is under your protection. And so the lifetime value of that person is going to be infinitely more than even monetary value. That might be a lifelong person that is a part of the fabric of your life. Or it may just be another customer. But the key is that, these are the things you should be thinking about when you're trying to determine what you're trying to accomplish by selling or, by creating a product or a service. And whether or not it aligns with your values as a person, because there's always going to be something besides I want to make money, because that is already number one. Everyone trying to make money is operating on that. You could just factor that out. Put that as your new zero. Remember I said earlier, you make that into your new zero. Since everyone already understands in the game of business that everyone wants to make more money. Okay, that's not a question. You don't get into business because you don't want to make money. Even if, and especially if your vision is something that's going to cost a lot of money, such as trying to feed and clothe and house the homeless, for example. That's going to cost a lot of money, and tax dollars are not being used, and so maybe private capitalists are going to be the ones to try to fill that. And in order to do that, you have to have a lot of capital. So there's that.
Is that all of the people that bought Netflix are making the continual decision to renew Netflix or not based on the value the product is providing as an ongoing basis, okay? Now, I make that decision to not renew Netflix at least every month, right? And maybe multiple times a month, as a sort of subconscious decision that, like, if I have a bad experience or I'm logging onto that product again or I'm just not using it, I don't go. Similar.
Yeah, so it could be like having a fish hook stuck in your cheek, and there's a fish hook in your mouth. That's basically what these ongoing services are like. Now, obviously, that fishing hook could be exactly what you want because you're hooked. But for some cases, it's going to hurt and it's going to get blistered or it's going to get infected, might kill you. I don't know. And so you're going to, at some point, say, I don't want this in my mouth anymore. And you take it out and you swim away. Whereas if you have a single product, you solve the problem. The person literally never thinks about it again, except maybe in a couple of years, they run into a family member or a friend and they have the same problem that they had. And then they say, like, I remember buying this thing and it was really good. I think they're still in business. You should buy it from them. And now you got a second buy. And then multiply that by tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions. And that really stacks up. Okay?
Similarly with my yoga studio, if I am over that, or I just like am over yoga, or I can't get out there, any number of reasons, right? I'm done. It's over. I do no longer pay that studio, and that studio now makes $0. Now, for that reason, subscription-based services have what's called an LTV, right, which is a lifetime value per customer. Value per customer.
Yeah, and of course, like lifetime value, and like this is where the conversation, I believe I read it in a book. I forgot the name of the author. It doesn't matter, but the concept is like lifetime value of a client. And this is where the conversation of like, because obviously you could think of them as a customer, you'd be perfectly justified. Nobody really would think of it. But in your deepest of like thoughts, it's helpful to think and be reminded of the fact that they are not a customer. They are your client under your protection. And I think it's very important to remember that. Because the lifetime value is also multi-directional. Because if you have a client that is so important to you in your life that you are willing to dedicate your business to helping him or her, or that person, whoever they may be, because they align with your vision or because they have some other product or service that goes well with yours, or because they are your close personal friend, you could trust that person with your life. That goes both ways, and it gives you value in addition to your client. They're not just a customer. They are somebody who has been a part of your experience of life. And I know it's like not this huge mumbo wumbo jumbo kind of thing where people are like kind of like, oh, that wish-washy kind of like, oh, just love and peace and all that. It goes beyond that. And if that's the way you feel about things, that is how you feel. I don't really judge that or anything, but I do like to see, like, why are we here? Why are we doing what we do? Why are we trying to do the things that we are doing? Like, actually ask ourselves this. Saying, like, what do I actually gain of value? You could say money, but then you can just scratch that off because money is already a given as part of the goal. You could literally do anything to make money, but you chose this. Why? There's a reason, even if you don't know that reason. And so if you ask yourself why you chose to make money doing this thing rather than making money doing that other thing, you can start answering these other questions that are going to lead you to getting to the best version of your brand or your product that you can possibly have. Because you went from ground zero, which is yourself, and you looked at why you got into business, why you do the things you do. Why do you wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. every day? Why do you do the dishes a certain way every single time, the same way? Why do you get up in the morning and you go out for a walk and you drink water and you do this thing? Why do you open up that notebook? Why do you write down those things that you're going to do today? Why do you make those phone calls? Why do you make those emails? These things have purposes. They have problems that need to be solved. These are things that people experience on a daily basis. And if you only live your life for that, it's going to be empty. Because literally anything can replace that. So if you have a vision of like, this is where I need to be because this is how I get to my goal. Like, let's say your goal is to solve homelessness. And it could be something less altruistic. It could be like your goal is to own 72 satellites orbiting the Earth. Those are two different goals, both valid. Whatever reasons they are the individual's own. But the effect, if you have 72 satellites, to give internet for free to as many people as possible across the world. Or you could start a fund for a group of people who would create houses that people could live in for free, that's safe and healthy, with resources such as, work resources, computer. That's where the internet access comes from. So like those two things can work together. And so if you have one person with the vision of bringing internet to everyone, and you have another person with the vision of creating housing for all the homeless, well, then you can bring those two together, because not only are you just building houses, you're also building resources for the people who live in those houses by giving them the internet. And when someone has the internet, they can read on Wikipedia, they could learn things, they can watch educational YouTube videos, they can apply to jobs, they can perform their jobs, they could learn skills that will transfer to every area of their life. However, if that's all you have and you don't have a house, you're going to be like living like a homeless person, which is not going to help you achieve your goal. I'm going to tell you that right now. I've been homeless. I was homeless from 2010 to 2014, living in homeless shelters. Okay? That is not conducive to success. I'm going to tell you that right now. You can get yourself out of there, and that's your number one goal. It's your number one goal. If you're in a homeless shelter, get out of the homeless shelter. Get to a place where you can start working, where you can start living a life that with dignity, where you can take a shower, where you can eat, where you're not worried about someone stealing your stuff, where you're not worried about someone attacking you physically, etc. Without all those things in the way, you can succeed. And that is the mission of somebody who wants to create a solution to the problem of homelessness. And the problem with this is that there's other surrounding factors that prevent that goal from being achieved. So you can't do this all on your own. You need other people who are your clients and confidants and, possibly even business partners who can work together to achieve the common goals that everyone has, because they're all connected. And if you try to do it on your own and you cut resources out of the way, there might be good reasons, such as if somebody's mission completely goes the opposite of yours, and it would actually be damaging. And that's something you have to cut out. Like, there's certain people, like, I would never want to work with somebody to make like somebody money because I'm hired by them, who is actively like trying to like, get rid of transgender rights, for example. That's something I can't do. And it's not even literally, it's like those people would never want to work with me anyway, because they don't see me as a human being. They see me as a disgusting monster, because that's who they are. They're projecting. But even if someone technically came and they were like, hey, we can make money off of this transgender person, and we're going to try to spread our cause, I'm like, nope, sorry. I'd rather work with these tens of thousands of people who would rather work with me, who actually have their vision aligned with mine than some bigoted human being who wants to just make a quick buck off of me so that they can make some cheap memes and they can poke fun at trans people. I would rather do the meaningful thing than the thing that is extremely terrible and going to give me a lot of negative experiences in my life. Okay.
So the lifetime value of a customer is just going to be how long they're subscribed for. But with a singular product, you're going to find out that the LTV per customer is going to be the initial price of the product plus any upsells plus anything you can get back from them on those.
Yeah, so it's a winning system rather than a losing system. Because with a subscription, every month is a gamble on whether or not a client will stay. But if a single purchase happens, you already understand the value has a baseline of like how much that baseline product costs, like $20. But then you also have goods and services that could upsell to add to that, making it only profit. It could only be better than the minimum. Whereas a subscription process, based service might have random sales of those things, but it's, you don't even meet that initial stage until a certain amount of time. Like you'd have to this person needs to subscribe for at least 3 months before it'll, reach the baseline. But during those 3 months, we could try to upsell the products. The problem with that is that if that person only buys for a month and then cancels, and they didn't buy anything, then that person had significantly less value than if you just sold them that initial product. And then if they're going to buy it all up front like that at once, they're more likely to also buy other products that you have that have like a symbiotic or even just like a synergetic relationship with the original product. So if you have let's say you buy a toothbrush, you're probably going to want to buy toothpaste. So if you sell a toothbrush, they're going to get a toothbrush. But you can say, hey, we also sell toothpaste. Do you want that too? They're not just buying the toothpaste. They're buying the toothbrush and they're buying the toothpaste. And let's say you also have a dental floss. They might not buy the dental floss, but they bought the toothbrush and the toothpaste. But there might be another customer who comes in and buys just the toothbrush. And then there's another customer who just the toothbrush. You get 200 customers who buy just the toothbrush. And then you get another client who comes in and they buy 10 toothbrushes and they buy 5 things of floss and they buy 100 toothpastes. Okay, and now this person, you might want to do business with them and give them a discount so that they can come back more often and buy that amount every month because they're a distributor. Okay, and now you have a guaranteed minimum of everything that you're making every month. Everything else after that is pure profit. And it was already profit because you already offered a product that people are going to buy. And you've already met the initial lifetime value that you've calculated is acceptable, and your only potential is making more than if you had 100 customers, but each of them only bought the toothbrush, it would still meet the minimum requirement of you to make a profit. If that makes any sense, because if you sold additional things, that's like a bonus. Like you sold the toothpaste as well, and you're already selling the toothpaste. And you're already selling the dental floss.
Decisions, okay? But let's stay on the psychology for now. So, the problem here is you might have already seen the problem now if you're following along. If you aren't providing ongoing value, people aren't interested and will unsub. But here, people are interested in solving a problem, which is I am trying to have a book and I'm trying to have a pen. Once I've made this decision, how many of you and how many of people do you know in your life that have ever gone back 2 years later and said, I am going to return a book. I just don't need it anymore. I'm going to go.
Yeah, so of course the answer is nobody. But obviously there's people, but that's not what we're talking about. It's just like the toothpaste and toothbrush example, like a notebook and a pen. It solves a problem. It's very simple. but people aren't going to be like shouting from the rooftops about your product. Like, it's not about the pip. It's not about the notebook and pen. It's about what they're writing in it. So it's solving a problem for them. They move on from it. They don't think about it anymore. They've already achieved what the problem that they've already solved the problem that they wanted to solve. And that might happen again at another point, especially if the notebook fills out or the pen runs out of ink. They're probably going to be more likely to buy from you than somebody they'd never bought from before. So if you happen to be lucky enough to have gotten a customer that is going to become a lifelong client of somebody who's going to purchase, they don't even know you. They never talk to you. You never interact with this customer ever. This person buys your product every month for 18 months. And then they don't buy anymore for a while. Maybe they figured out, maybe they started buying a different product. Or maybe they stopped buying the product or whatever. But like, you know, that's not, as long as you get that in, if you calculate your need for certain minimum amount of revenue each month, if you're trying to make, or each quarter or whatever, as long as you reach that minimum, everything else is pure profit. And you should not try to think of trying to like increase that in a way that would harm the minimum. Because if you harmed the minimum, then you're not going to make any profit. In fact, you're going to lose money and you're going to have to sell your business or close down your business. You're not going to be in a good place. You're not going to be in a good place. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're not. If you're making less money because you cared more about making more money than making the minimum money. You need to care about making the minimum money so that you can stay afloat and also earn profit. If you're taking a risk that just so you can increase the minimum or something like that, and it's such a risk that it actually destroys the minimum and like makes it even lower, like you're trying to raise it but you ended up lowering it, like you took a gamble, like for example, relevant stuff that's going on with like Anheuser-Busch. I purposely think sometimes there's a reason to take sales hits. I personally think there's absolutely no reason why a transgender content creator should be receiving any kind of vitriol about doing a freaking one-time Instagram marketing campaign. She has 10 million followers. They would get anybody as long as they weren't like a serial killer or something like that. Like, what is she doing? Like, she's just a person who makes content on the internet. People like don't have a problem with him, and I think that's it's the insidious parts of transphobia, because even people who are accepting of trans people still, you know, you'll hear people talk about Dylan Mulvaney and say, oh, she's just parroting women. And it's like, well, what about cisgender women who do that? Like, you probably think about that you're focusing more on the fact that the person's transgender rather than their behavior. Because if a cisgender person was behaving that way, you probably wouldn't be spending this amount of energy and attention on this. But because it's a transgender person, somehow you're making it political. Because right now there's actually political issues with trans rights. And unfortunately, it's looking very dark for a lot of places in the world right now, and the only reason I feel safe and hope is that there's a lot more people who support trans people than who are against us, but we're still not out of the woods. There's a lot of bad things that could potentially happen, especially in our government in certain states. I don't know, like it's just something that I have to live with. I have like zero social currency. However, I can't use that as an excuse because Dylan Mulvaney has 10 million followers. If she's a trans woman, she has 10 million followers. I think I can do something with my life and with my career as a content creator, as an entertainer, as a performer, as a musician, as an actress, as a model, as all the above. If somebody who's trans can get there, I think I have no excuses. So, however, it does make it harder because being trans for some reason just completely eliminates certain people entirely from from your audience, because they will never in a million years ever accept trans people. And you have to accept that. And you have to go for like, lifetime value. Do I really want to create lifetime value if it's going to bring in more of those people? I'd rather bring in people who accept me for who I am so that we can move past the fact that I'm transgender and just talk about our fucking product. Is that too much to ask? Is that I don't have to make being transgender the central part of my life or of my content or of what I talk about or of what why does that have to define me? I want to create thoughtful entertainment that gives people something to think about, that gives people to like try to improve their lives potentially, that also makes people smile, because I like to make little stupid jokes that only I laugh at. You know what? Not everybody laughs at it, but I laughed at it. And if I laughed at it, someone else may have laughed at it. And having that internal understanding of my value and what I bring to the table, I think it's an important starting place. Because if you do not start from caring about yourself and looking out for yourself and loving yourself, you cannot hope to ever help someone else. Except maybe by accident. And also maybe lesser quality. So it's something to think about. Is you should always be thinking about, because if you're not in the driver's seat, someone else is going to be. And would you rather that person be in the driving seat or you? Because when you're in the driver's seat, you can steer things a different direction than what you fear. And also fear doesn't exist. It's a fear of something that does not exist. The only thing that does exist is what happens. And you don't know what happens. You have an idea. You might have a guess. But you don't know what happens until it happens. And once it happens, it's not going to be what you imagine it to be. It's going to be what it is. And that's where we should be working, which is like, well, if all that business stuff is just going to be all, number crunching and stuff, well, then I can just like, let that number crunching stuff happen. And I can start looking at like, okay, well, what do I want? What's going to give me a better life? Because if you're making other people's lives better, but you're making your life absolute torture, like, then what are you really winning? Obviously, you get the understanding that you've helped a lot of people. So that's a big one. However, does it have to also include that you have to be miserable? I don't think that's the case. I think you're allowed to like things. I think you're allowed to enjoy things and have fun and do things that aren't about making money, do things with people you care about, talk about things that are interesting to you. You should be able to do all these things. And if you don't have your business aligned to those goals, then you're going to be that person who's just miserable every day, working 18-hour days, never seeing their family, never living life because they're always working. They're always grinding. And maybe they love that. But is that what you want?
Go back to Target where I bought it, and I'm going to return it. Of course, nobody ever does that, right? But the same psychology applies to courses, happens all the time. Happens to subscription services. Because the subscription service is something you're paying ongoing value for. So a high-value product up front is going to be a singular decision in the mind of your customer. But an ongoing product up front is going to be a continual decision for your customer. And for that reason, it is always easier to sell product than it is ongoing services. And so psychologically, it is much more difficult to sell an ongoing service. Difficulty in sales.
So you get things like OnlyFans, and you get things like Twitch subscribers, etc., etc. Convincing someone that they need to spend $5 a month for your live stream or for your OnlyFans or whatever, they're gonna change their mind every month, and it's gonna be very difficult to get someone who's willing to go that far down into the funnel. And you have to do that, and you're relying on your income that way if you're doing that. But what you can instead try to focus on is trying to increase that number of people who are likely to buy something, and it's more efficient to have them buy something with the expectation that they're only buying it one time. And so if you can increase the payment, like maybe instead of a $5 OnlyFans, you make a $25 one. Or you make a free one and you sell videos for $25. For example, just to name a few examples, and it doesn't have to be OnlyFans, it can be anywhere. Um, it could also be like, you know, maybe you do a YouTube video for your Patreon subscribers about like, you know, you only show it, you only make a video for that are requested by, like you offer like custom video requests that you then upload publicly. But then they're made by people who are purchasing your Patreon account, and you put the minimum amount as expecting that to be a one-time purchase. And people are, and as long as you factor that into your account, that as long as somebody is at least purchasing it one time, and you get a certain amount of people every month that purchase it one time, and they may or may not renew it, but you've already factored that as that's only profit. You're trying to get an X amount of new subscribers every month. And that's a lot harder to do than trying to get an X amount of people to just like buy a video or something like that. Or like to buy, like let's just say like you go on Fiverr and you're like, hey, like, I'm going to make a video for $25, with footage that you supply. And then like, you do that, and that person may never come to you again, but you get a certain amount of people every month that give you that money for that service, for that product. And you factor that as like, okay, as long as I get X amount of people who reply to this Fiverr post every month, and I'm able to fulfill their request for this for Y amount of money, then I reach my minimum goal of revenue, which may or may not be profitable. But you've made it so that is what you need to make at a minimum. And once you achieve that, everything else is gravy. But you have to make sure that people are always going to want to come back to get that product. And if it's a good enough product, it will stand the test of time. Not everything will. So you have to keep things fresh. You don't want to like, you want to have as many chances as people to want to buy a product as possible. So every time obviously if you're talking about monetary transactions, this is a little different. If you're trying to talk about people who are going to be interested in everything that you make, you're trying to get like fans, like you're trying to get people who support you, who want to buy your product. That's a different problem to solve than trying to get those people to then buy something. Right now, I'm trying to get people interested in general about what I do, and it's a different kind of goal. And it involves a lot, and mostly I'm trying to improve myself. I'm trying to work on myself. I'm in the act of improving my life the past several years, like 3 or 4 years. The past 4 years, I've been actively improving my life, and that's been the number one goal. So everything I do, as far as content, as far as anything that I do on anywhere, is towards that goal of self-improvement. And so I am profiting. I have definitely profited. I've gotten a gender-affirming surgery a month ago on my face that I've been waiting like 4 years for, basically. And I have a surgery at the end of the year, bottom surgery, that I've been waiting basically like 15 years for. But I actively started working on these things like 3.5 years ago. And I've been waiting, but even that is a long time. So that is what I'm working for. And so everything I do for content is not designed to try to make money or to make a lot of people show up to me and support me. What I'm doing right now is to facilitate that. And they may or may not end up aligning. Sometimes I could, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. However, I am not expecting to grow a content creator career at this exact moment. I am expecting myself to be able to get ready to put in the energy I want to into creating products and services and living a life that I want to live.
It's much more difficult to sell an ongoing service than it is to sell a one-time product. Why? Because I have to convince you up front, if you want to buy a product, that product is right for you and it solves your problem. And there are a lot of things I can use to incentivize that. So, for example, hey, buy my course. It is 15 videos on how to become a master of writing stuff in business. You will be able to write template emails. You'll be crazy good at everything. You'll know how to write. You'll know how to communicate with employees. You'll know how to manage.
And see, I know that like people have this like kind of armchair cabbage brain take of like, oh, but like if you do that, you look phony and nobody's going to want to buy that. Well, I'm sorry, the numbers disagree with you, apparently. You'd have to ask Devin about that kind of stuff. But I think, you have to realize that just because you see it as a scam and you don't want to buy something like that, there's like 10 people who do. For every one person that is like, this is a scam, 1 out of 10 people is going to be like, this is a scam, fuck this. There's going to be 9 people who are like, shut up and take my money. People are, it's not that they're stupid, it's just that they don't understand that sometimes buying a product isn't going to solve your problem. However, they're going to buy a product anyway. So you may as well capitalize on that. You might be introducing the problem and then you're solving the problem. That's a little evil, We're not going to talk about big pharma. Okay.
It's going to be great. That is a one-time fee of $197, and I'll give you a 100% money-back guarantee if you buy it, right? That is a much easier sell than I'm going to provide you an ongoing service that is going to be worth, let's say, $25 to $30 a month. By the way, the higher this number gets, the worse it is to sell. That is not true in terms of product sales. People will buy
yeah, so unless you can you have like a service, like you're a landscaping business or something, then that makes sense to be a service that people pay a monthly for or whatever, because that's something they're always going to need. And if they can't afford it anymore, they might take a few months off, but they're going to come back. And so you can kind of play the numbers game. You can make it cheaper because you have a number of people who are basically going to be lifetime clients. And so something like that would work better in a membership, because what are you going to do? Unless you're a contractor and you just do a one-time job, but you charge them more for it. Whereas if you have like a landscaping service that's like part of a service and you do like multiple houses on the same day in the same neighborhood, etc., they're going to be able to control the situation more. Whereas if it's somebody who's making like a contracted, like, hey, you need yard work, call this number, but it's going to cost more money because you're going to have to survey the area. You're going to have to come out there and see like what you need to do. You need to gather materials you might need. It's going to cost more money. So there's like 2 different models for the same exact thing, but it's not the same exact thing. One of them is like ongoing landscaping, which is pretty solid. But another one is like emergency landscaping, which is also probably pretty solid, I would bet. It's got to be somebody who always has like a tree that fell on a shed or something like that. I don't know, shit like that. People who just all year round, they're doing those things, but they charge more because it's a case-by-case basis. They have to put more effort each time they go out into the work. Whereas if it's like an ongoing service, last week they came by and this week not much has changed since the last week. It's the same exact lawn. They just have to do the same exact things every single week or every single day or whatever, and they're done. Like they come by once a week, to do a house, and like it's the same every time because they're the ones who did it last week.
A high value product if they believe it solves a high value problem, but convincing someone to buy a membership is much more difficult, as we have seen again with like the Netflix example of just them raising their prices by $2 a month causes you to lose 20% of your customers.
Yeah, so it's like obviously like you get a customer who comes in and they're like, hey, I really like your product, I'm gonna pay you $8.99 a month, and then like you're something like Netflix or something. And then you're like, okay, well, we're increasing the price to $11.99. And suddenly you're like, oh, I was already kind of on the fence about it to begin with. And now there's an extra $3 I have to spend. Or like extra $2. I don't even know. I don't think so. Like $3 more for something I was already on the fence about. Like, you have to be able to make a minimum revenue stream without at the lowest price possible without losing money. And that's a really difficult problem to solve because sometimes you're going to be having not enough customers every month. And you're going to be, if you don't make a minimum amount, then you're losing money. And so if you make it so easy for them to do that they're just going to like keep renew on, like let's say you make it like 99 cents. Then you're going to get a whole bunch of people that get it one time and then maybe they never do it again, but they don't notice on their bank statement every month that they're getting charged $1. And so you have a lifetime value of like 3 years before they finally notice. However, that person then tells somebody about it and they might like, tell another friend about it and say, hey, like these people just, they just scam you out of money. And that's not really going to matter, I don't think. I think if you offer a product that's worth $1 a month, it doesn't have to be a low quality product. But you can do something for $1 a month that more people are willing to do because it's lower effort. It's only $1. It's more of an effort than free. But it's like if somebody's like, hey, I can spend $1. It's not even the cost of a coffee. Like I could buy this content creator a coffee, and they'll go to your Patreon, they'll buy you a coffee, and then that's where you provide them value. There. It's like, hey, like, you just bought me a coffee. Like, here's what I can give you for a coffee,
Versus if you are selling one very high value product, people that buy that product, even at the highest rates of return, are 2% returns with a 100% money back guarantee. But people that buy that product and generally feel like they've gotten some value on it will just keep it, and they'll be like, okay, great. And the worst thing that will happen is they just won't buy another product from you or service if they had a horrible experience. But with a course, there is an ongoing, with a subscription, there's an ongoing feeling of having to provide that value. And the moment you don't provide that value, that person will stop being there and will probably never come back.
Yeah, so this is where you get like, if you are dependent, like this is the problem with being like a public person, and like if you're an actor, actress, I believe we just say actor now, because of like it's gender neutral, I guess. They made fun of it in Big Mouth where they said like monster and monstrous, like when you say actor, actress, like. As soon as you do something that the public doesn't like, you get canceled or whatever, it's probably going to be fine. But like if it's something really bad, like your ability to make more income based on your celebrity status is probably going to change. I don't think it would ever go away, especially if you're big enough. But like, this is a fringe problem. However, it is a real thing. And it's like, there's certain things like, I don't know, like, I don't really think I'm in danger of ever having some kind of huge major controversy or like I'm not that kind of person, but I don't know. You never know. And that's why it's good to have, I don't know. The same thing could be going to like, I don't know, if you have a product that's people are probably not going to want to buy anymore if they like know that like, hey, this person did this thing or whatever. I think you have to do something really bad for that to happen. I really don't think I don't think someone like me who's very like gentle person who like cares about people, I do speak my mind, but that doesn't mean that I'm violent. I actually hate violence. Now that's an oxymoron, but I think violence is absolutely disgusting. I don't think there's any place for violence in any situation. Even I don't consider self-defense to be violence, but I do think it's violence if you go above what you need to survive. I do not like weapons. I do not like knives or guns or anything. I hate those. I hate seeing them. I hate people I hate seeing people play with them like they're some kind of toys when they're designed to kill people. But anyway, that's a completely different story. And
the higher that number becomes, so like let's say, okay, well, I'm going to sell one product for $500. Well, couldn't I just sell a membership for $100 a month, and then after 5 months, I'm making more money? And the problem becomes, first, you're convincing that person psychologically to spend that $100 a month is much more difficult than convincing them to spend that raw amount. This is why like everything that is really expensive isn't usually sold on subscription models. You could pay for it that way, but it's sold up front, like a car, a house, or whatever. You can pay for it like on a mortgage, but the whole product is sold. If memberships were really that great, Toyota would sell a car membership where you have like a you buy a Corolla and the ongoing value of it, right? But everybody knows that to be scams, like the rental cars and stuff like that. They're only used in like specific instances. This is because it's much easier to convince a person, like, hey, spend $30,000 up front, and get this product, or versus spend X number of dollars per month, and like you can break it down in terms of that payment cycle, but the psychology is always going to be better, just them justifying the price of it up front and dealing with the psychology of that. Okay, so it's difficult to sell. Like, you might say, if you didn't understand that, by the way, you might say, well, Devin, wait, like, when I buy my car, I'm on a car payment.
Yeah, so basically, like, obviously, when you buy the car, it's going to be, like, upfront. So it's like you've already invested in it. It's already lost half its value as soon as you drove it off the lot. So that, you need to understand that. Like, a car is not an investment. It's the opposite of investment. However, what a car is it gives you something of value, which is it gives you transportation. It gives you possibly social status if it's a very expensive car. Which is, I guess, important to some people. If that's important to you, it better only be important to you in as much as, like, you need to have that image as, like, like a CEO of a company or something. But don't let that define your who you are. Like, that's just a part of the job. Like, it doesn't make you a better person. It just gives you that image. And it's not even it's a part of your job, like, which could be very important to the individual. It's really important to understand that people's values differ, and one person's value as a CEO of a company or like a big executive or whatever would be like, I make the most money, and that's fine. Another person might be, I'm doing good in the world, and that's fine. They're both making a lot of money, and like, but one person has like a goal in mind, and the other person like has a goal in mind, and both of those goals are valid. But if they switch places, those goals would not be good, because those, the person wants to like help humanity or whatever. Well, they don't want to do that because they want to save their money for themselves, and that's fine. So that would be very bad for that person. But for the person who just like saves all the money and doesn't help anything in the environment or with homelessness or anything like that, they're like, why do I have all this money? It's not doing any good in the world. I'm miserable. So if you just switch those two people and be like, hey, you're going to have less money, but you're going to achieve your life goals of trying to help the world and make it a better place. Or you could say, hey, you're going to make a lot of money, but it's not going to really be doing much. That's up to you to decide. It's like that's not pay to win. I mean, obviously, if you have that kind of money, you can experiment a lot more. So I guess it is pay to win in a lot of ways. But like that spiritual journey, that internal journey, you can do that for free. Like it takes work. It doesn't take money. I mean, money can take work sometimes. But like having more money isn't going to solve this problem. It's going to have to come from within. You're gonna have to do some deep dives into who you are and what you want out of life, and that's going to require a lot of effort. You're going to have to talk a lot. Maybe talk to a therapist or any other kind of professional. You're going to need some kind of counseling, whether it's with yourself or with someone else, and you're going to have to ask these tough questions, and you better have an answer, because, I mean, everyone has an answer.
Yeah, but you've already committed to the entire purchase, right? It's different. You don't have to you can't just stop paying your car payment. Once you've committed to I guess you can, but the bank repos it is a whole big deal. Once you've committed to the full amount of the product in the sale, and now you're paying monthly. That's really different than like you making the decision to like pay for your car, and then you just one day say, okay, I'm not going to get it monthly, right? So it's a different thing, because in example number one, you pay for your Corolla, you're paying monthly. But in example number two, you're paying an ongoing price, and you could like choose to return that car. It's a different psychology. The psychology is much more difficult to get people to buy on a consistent manner. Okay, so we also have to look though at time investment, because once you build a product or service, I mean, sure, you have to update it to varying degrees depending on industry. Mostly the product and service is kind of just there. And with a course, again, it's the idea of providing ongoing value. So the time investment of providing membership and providing subscriptions is going to be a lot higher than it is just buying a product.
Yes, I mean, if the nature of your product or service is requiring of that, and you're more than willing to do that, then obviously that's fine. But if you could be better putting that energy and being more effective by putting that time into a one-time product, then you should probably do that instead.
And the other big thing that I have with products is upsell. So upsells mean if you have a product that solves a problem and a list of services for that product, you can easily upsell. So let's say I have a $100 like info course, right? And then I have a $20 ebook I can sell on top of that, and like a $30 let's say what other stuff can I consider? There's all kinds of upsells. I should know this stuff off the top of my head. I've done it so many times. It could just be anything related to it. Like let's say it's a health info course and it's like a $30 supplement that goes with it, right? And you can just see how you can start
So like the thing here is that like any one of these products on their own could open the pathway to an upsell to the other products. So if you're selling an info course, you're marketing that a certain way. People who want an info course. And they're like, okay, I'm going to get that course. They spend $100. Cha-ching. Okay, and then what they see is they say like, oh, there's also an ebook. You know, you might include it with the course, you know, and then maybe sell another book that's like supposed to be like bigger. I don't know. But you know, they see an ebook also and they're like, oh, well, I already have the course. I could also get the ebook. And they're like, oh, there's supplements. So they talk about that in the video that I watched about it. So I may as well get those to go along with the course. And, you know, like that's kind of it. But also, if you read the book will circle around to the course. And if you get the supplements might, you know, just be on their own, selling on their own. But like if you put like, you know, like a QR code on the supplements that leads to the info course or to the book or both, then like, you know, you're going to lead back to itself. You know, you want to eat your own tail in business, I guess.
Stacking up value of these things. So you don't have to sell a static product. You can upsell literally as like a part of your sales funnel. When people land on the website, they can hit that for that course. They can just check the boxes for the upsells that they also want that go with that course, especially if your product is selling something like, let's use the health example, where there might be supplements, there might be like green juices, there might be like powders they can buy. You could also do affiliate stuff through that. This is not the case within memberships, whereas if a person is in a membership and then they get pushed a product, they're like, why am I paying this membership? And just to get offered products. Now,
it's like if you were paying money to get rid of ads and then you still got ads. Like that. Like, why, like, aren't you paying to get rid of the ads? But apparently if they circumvent that, then why would you even want to subscribe in the first place? So it's like, that's a terrible strategy.
In some cases, if you have very high value, that does work, right? So, for example, Disney does that, where they have exclusive memberships, and then you can get into like different kinds of merch that you can buy if you're just a member of that Disney tier. But that's Disney. You're not Disney, right? So like that's very few people.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have that name, like if you're like Michael Jordan, like you can sell like basketball stuff. And you could just sit there and like sign T-shirts. But if you're just some Joe Schmo or Jane Lame, if you're some Joe Schmo or some Jane Lame out there, and all you do is just like maybe you play basketball one time, and then you go out in the street corner and try to sell basketball shoes, like, and Michael Jordan's right next to you, trying to sell his basketball shoes. Who do you think basketball shoes are gonna buy?
People that can actually do that. For the vast majority of membership type programs, when you are offering a product in addition to the membership, they're like, why is this just not part of the membership? Again, it goes back into that psychology. It's the most important part of this, that they are constantly looking for to provide that value. That is why membership programs like Amazon Prime, like Netflix, right? They can't really offer you a product. They can offer you discounts on the products they have, but they can't like really offer you something as a part of that, because like everybody would be really pissed off if Netflix is like, hey, now you have to pay $20 for this set of content, but you're already paying the $15. You see what I mean? So that is not good. Upsell.
Yeah, like you already had to convince the person to do the first sale, and now you're trying to make them do a second sale, and they're already on the fence about the first one.
don't work as well on memberships as they do on product.
But and that's kind of what Amazon, like, this is actually kind of true. Like YouTube and Amazon do this, like where you basically, you're already spending money on Amazon Prime and you get a certain amount of stuff that's free with Prime on Amazon Prime. But then in order to watch certain shows or movies, you have to also be subscribed to like Paramount Plus, because these individual companies figured out like, hey, people are definitely going to want to watch our content. You know, they're going to want to pay the money for it. However, the problem is that most people are like, if you're going to think about the actual end user, they're going to be some person who's already paying money to Amazon, and they're just going to think, why the hell should I pay money to watch something when I'm already spending money? Like, you already spent it so that you could watch stuff, and that was just a foot in the door so that you have to pay money to watch stuff. Like, it's really infuriating. Like, you should just pay one flat fee and you get everything. Like why? Why do I have to be gatekept? Like it's just like, oh, in order to watch this movie, well, because we're bigger brands, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, have you pay more money for it. you know what? You think this is just like, you know, any old movie? This is our movie.
You could easily increase the LTV of your product as just by adding more stuff to it. So eventually you could have a product that has like 4 or 5 different upsells, and you increase the LTV of a person. Like, let's say you're selling a course for $300, you get like 3 different upsells that cost like, I don't know, $40 each. Well, you've just increased the LTV of your customer by $120 per customer. And then you can also go back to your email list and you can put them into the cycle of getting those signups and everything like that. So that it's a way better model. The psychology here is that a membership program will put you into a cycle of constantly having to create value, but at higher levels it will generate more revenue, right? Especially because like just more members, MRR is like a good model, and that's why it's so attractive. But the problem here is like let's talk about ads for a second, right? So paid ads are typically how you market courses, and you market like singular products and services. You can run, when we talk about paid ads, we're talking about like AdWords, we're talking about Bing. You can run paid ads.
So if you got like a course that you're trying to sell, you're going to want to get YouTube ads, Facebook ads, and Twitter ads. But if all you could afford is one, I would say YouTube, because people are going to be watching similar content. You're going to be in their algorithm, and your ads are going to be played on relevant videos that people are going to say like, hey, I've been watching those videos, but I want to do it too. And this person is teaching me how. The person that I watch the videos of only does advanced, you know, videos. I'm a beginner. And this person's offering a beginner's course. And they see it on their ad on YouTube. And they're like, that's exactly the problem I wanted solved. And they buy your product. You know, because then it's like, it might even be while they're watching the thing that initially, like, right when they see it, that's when they are most likely to purchase it. Because they're literally watching like a TV show or something that they watch on YouTube, and then that TV show triggers the algorithm to play your ad at probably the most exact moment that you're most likely to purchase it. If everything goes well. You know, like I think Twitter and Facebook, like Facebook more than Twitter, but like I think like Facebook ads would probably be good for like more of like a standalone product, like not like a course, but like I feel like if you want to do Facebook ads, it would be for something that's like, you know, like if you sell cargo pants, or if you sell dog food or anything like that. I feel like those kind of ads work really well for that, because then it's like, you know, the Facebook algorithm listens to your conversations or whatever, and like just delivers you ads for products that you're really likely to buy. Like if you're a dog owner, you're probably going to be buying dog food. Now, I don't know if that would do too well on something like YouTube, because when you're watching YouTube, you're probably not thinking about making purchases if you're a dog owner. You know, you're probably thinking about like, I want to watch this TV show with my dog. And you don't want to get interrupted from that. So like an ad for like dog food during that time would be like kind of weird. It might get your dog excited. Maybe it makes your dog pee. I don't know. But like if you're on Facebook just kind of casually looking through Facebook and you just in the corner of your eye see an advertisement for dog food, it just subconsciously gives you that brand impression, and you're going to see that, and you're going to like later on in the day, you're going to be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm shopping for food. I'm at the grocery store. I saw that brand. Let me try it for my dog or whatever. or because it's so subtle, but it's not subtle. Whereas like I think with like YouTube, that's really good for stuff that requires like more of an explanation, more of a it requires more of like an more like a kind of like you need to kind of bring people into it. Like if it requires an explanation, I think Twitter might be similar, but like I do think YouTube ads are more like that, because then it's like if it's something where it's like your brand of dog food is specifically for dog owners of this who have this medical problem or something like that. And so now you're giving a little bit more of a narrative to what your brand is. It's like, hey, this is for people who have dogs who have sensitive stomachs. This applies to me personally. I wouldn't have known that if I just saw like a static ad on Facebook. So it's like, I think like having that psychology of like understanding like where an ad will be most effective is what you should be thinking about.
Against either of them, but a paid ad works more effectively for a singular product buy, because the advertisement is saying, buy this, solve your problem, the end. Versus a paid ad running you into a membership is like, oh man, now I have all kinds of questions. Do I trust this person? Do I trust their payment services, right? Where they're going to be charging my credit card. Can I cancel easily if I want to get out of it? There's a lot more questions the customer has to solve in their mind versus that one-time purchase, which people are akin and accustomed to doing. So when you run a paid ad, you can run them.
Yeah, I mean, think about like what you do and how you purchase things. Like you don't like look at things from the eye of like a marketer, or like you don't like. I mean, maybe you are. I mean, you do. But like most people, they're just kind of living their life. They see something on TV and they're like, huh, that's interesting, and then they move on. And they move on to the next thing that they're doing, and then they might say like, oh crap, like I need to buy that thing. They're not thinking about like all these deep kind of like algorithm things. That person is in the mindset of, I have a problem that needs to be solved, and I know that spending my money in this particular product is going to solve that problem. They're not like thinking of, they're not even like actively thinking that. That's just what's going on. Is like that's what's driving them. And they have any number of reasons for why they're buying your product. And I think it's just really important to understand that there is a human being who has an actual life that is not dictated by some kind of algorithm, that is not dictated by some kind of statistics. That this is a person who makes choices every day, all day, to live the life that they are living, whatever that might be. And so you can't possibly know what every single one of your customers is going to be thinking. But you can kind of like generalize and think like, my customers tend to get thirsty on Tuesdays. So that's when I'm going to run the ad for my beer. You know what I mean?
Against both, but if you run a paid ad, they're usually more effective towards singular products than they are ongoing services. But all of the ways that you can funnel into a membership program are also effective and more effective for product. So if you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to create YouTube content that then drives people towards a singular product, again, that because of the psychology, that decision.
I mean, it's just like how like Kick.com, like they're trying to drive people to start gambling on their site, on Stake.com. And so anything that they do is not trying to get subscribers, not trying to get donators. They're trying to get people. There's a certain percentage of people who are going to end up gambling because they want to gamble. And obviously you're an adult and you can make that decision for yourself. Whether or not you want to gamble. So, a responsible adult knows that if I don't have money that I'm willing to lose, gambling's the worst thing you could do. If you have money that you're willing to lose and you want to have fun and it's fun for you to gamble, then it's perfectly fine for you to gamble. And you should trust that people are going to make decisions. They're not going to make good decisions all the time, but that's not your job. Your job is to give them a product. And with Kick.com, their business model is that streaming itself doesn't really make much money. But if you use streaming to funnel people into a product that does make a lot of money, then you're further expanding your overall marketing campaign that already existed before that product existed. So that's like a unique thing that I think it'll really work out for them if things go well. Whereas the jury's still out on it. So never use absolutes.
Making to buy that product a singular time, that sales funnel is easier. So everything you could sell for a membership program, you could sell better as on product, right? Because like, okay, my model for building a membership program is going to be top of funnel. Remember, this is classic Devin Nash, right? We're going to do the ice cream cone. Super classic Devin Nash. So you're going to say the top of my funnel is going to be YouTube for the red, Twitter for blue, and then I'm going to lead them down into the membership course, which is going to be $30 a month here, okay?
And so you see, like, getting people to even watch that YouTube video is already going to lose a significant amount of people who saw that video in thumbnail and like, or who saw the tweet. So getting people to even engage at all, I thought that was actually on my monitor. I tried to scrape this away. Now there really was something over here. But the thing is like, even getting people to read that tweet is already going to lose a significant amount of people. And then even getting people to watch that YouTube video is going to lose a significant amount of people. Maybe 10 million people see the thumbnail. Maybe only 10,000 people click on it. You know, same with the tweet. So then out of those people, you then have to play that game again with something that's even harder for them to, you know, has an even bigger barrier to entry. Not only did they have to watch your video, but now they had to make a decision on whether or not they want to spend $30 a month. So you're getting more higher quality, valuable clients the deeper you go, but you're getting less of them because, I mean, they're going to be higher quality. Don't get me wrong. I mean, somebody who's willing to invest the time into a 40-minute YouTube video and then also spend money for additional things, that person is very likely to continue to be a lifetime value. Happy Saturday! Keep up the grind. Got you open. Do the same. Well, I probably won't do the same, but thank you for the message. Let me check out your stream. What do you do? What are you up to? What kind of things do you like to do, Sickle? Are you actually a person or are you a bot? Because if you're a bot, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to go look at your channel. What do? Do you like to play video games? Do you like to talk about stuff? What do you like to do? Just let me know what you want to do in chat. Thanks for joining. And I'm kind of just making a YouTube video right now. And I'm going to go pretty soon, but, thank you for being here and, keep up your grind, I guess.
Now they make $30 a month, and you better hope that your LTV and your value is high enough that like they subscribe for however long you need the money for. Or I could do exactly the same thing, YouTube content, Twitter content, and then at the bottom here is a $300 to $500 product that they have to buy one time. And again, the psychology of buying I'm just putting it up front very clearly. The psychology of buying a $500 product once is easier than getting somebody on like a $40 to $100 a month subscription plan. It might.
So it's like it's for the reason I was saying. Like obviously, if you've convinced someone to watch a whole video and then you have an ad for a course towards the end of the video, and then they click on the link to go buy a $500 product, you only have to do that once. Whereas if you have something that's worth like $20 a month, not only do they have to watch the video and then see the ad for the subscription, then they have to click on the link and then they have to make a decision for $20 that they have to do then every single month. Or you can just say, hey, there's going to be a good chance that if somebody wants to buy this course, they're willing to pay $500 for it. And it's a one-time payment that gives them lifetime value. They only had to walk that tightrope once. They didn't have to walk that tightrope every single day while you're waiting to get that value from that purchase. So they only have to make the tightrope walk once. They only need to fall from the tightrope once. Whereas they have to fall every single time for your product. Eventually they're not going to fall for it. They're going to be like, I'm getting scammed. Obviously, if you're being a scammer, you should be expecting to get scammed. You shouldn't be a scammer. You should be giving us something. You should be solving someone's problem in a satisfactory way. every time you market a product. And that's an ethical belief that I have that sets me apart from someone else, I guess. But it's something that I think is important to me as a person, so it's profitable to my spiritual journey.
It'd even be easier than a $15 to $30 subscription plan, but I don't have data on that. One of the hardest things to convert, even though it provides a ton of value, is Amazon Prime. And that's where a lot of this data is from, by the way, is like I'm working so closely with Amazon. It is very difficult to convert reoccurring subscriptions. You should drive all the same funnels to your product and services as you could a reoccurring membership. So people say, oh well, I like paid ads.
Yeah, like what if Amazon did something where it's like every single video that you watch is going to cost 25 cents, no matter where it's from. That would probably make more money than if they raised the price of Amazon Prime. Like if everything costs 25 cents and you're already signed up for Amazon, you already order stuff there, so it's literally on a you click on something and it says, do you want to make this purchase? And it says yes. And you don't have to do anything because you've already done that. You've already put in your payment information. You've already ordered something on Amazon, so you already have an account. Everything's all there. And you want to watch a movie, so you log into the account because it costs 25 cents and you're already logged in. So it just says, do you want to purchase this movie for 25 cents? And then you watch the movie. And you only have to pay that 25 cents one time. And you get 1 million people to pay that 25 cents one time per video. So every video has potential of making like infinite money. Every time somebody pays it for the first time, that's a final purchase. Whereas if you have an ongoing subscription, you're like, I'm only watching like 2 movies a month. Why am I paying for like being able to watch movies all day when I only watch like 2 movies a month? So if you're only watching 2 movies a month and you had the model of 25 cents a movie, that's 50 cents a month. If you're watching 100 movies a month, then that would be like like $250 a month. Wait, no, $2.50. No, wait, 100 times 25. Okay, yeah, $25 a month. If you watch 100 movies, then you're paying $25. But who watches 100 movies a month? Maybe someone watches 1,000 movies a month. Then they're paying way more. See, the problem with that is the more money you want to spend, maybe there is a tier of subscription that is much higher, that is satisfactory for that kind of end user. Where you're like, hey, like you could either buy everything for 25 cents and you own, and once you buy it, you never have to pay it again for that video. You have to pay it for other videos. Or if you watch thousands of videos a month, we have a rate that you can pay of like $100 a month or something like that, or like $50 a month, for people who watch that insane amount of content. But literally everything is free at that point. Like you don't have to pay additional fees for like, oh, it's at, this one is like Star Trek, so it's owned by, Paramount, but this other one's owned by Stars. This other one's owned by HBO. Like, it's such a mess. It's such a legal mess. Like,
I'm just gonna run paid ads against my courses. Well, all of your other stuff will work to run it against your product as well, right? Like, you don't have to just do paid ads, but paid ads work better also and are great. And yes, like if you look at some of the people in like the mastermind community that we run, the Patreon, people are just making full-time income by self ads alone. I mean, it really does, like, paid ads will solve your problem. PPC will solve your problem completely for most products and services. Most people, like, if all they do is they just build a decent product and service and run PPC against it, they have a business. It's actually that crazy. It's like that powerful.
Yeah, so it's like if I was able to make toilet seats that were satisfactory, and I just advertised on Facebook and Twitter and, maybe made a YouTube ad for it, that was probably even entertaining. You never know. Like, get a sledgehammer and slam it and say, what, you expecting it to not break? It's just a toilet seat. And then that's the ad, right? Like, someone gets a sledgehammer, slams the toilet seat, and it looks like they're setting it up to make it look like it's indestructible. But then you're like, it breaks, and like suddenly like the music changes, and like then like the angle changes. It says like, what? Were you expecting it not to break? It's a toilet seat. and then then you put your logo across the screen, and then you do that, and I think that would sell a lot of toilet seats.
Okay, but it came up that there was a question. So why is it that all of these like really top level celebrities and people sell courses as ongoing memberships? They sell these services that are ongoing memberships. So we think of like Jake Paul's financial freedom movement, the Trump University, the Andrew Tate War Room, the Ty Lopez Club. Like most people that are like high level scammers are using this ongoing membership model. Why?
So basically, I'm going to kind of skip past all this because it's like a lot of it is, basically the TLDR about all this is that basically these people prey on this exclusivity. Like you hear about this like on like airports, right? They have the exclusive members club or whatever. But literally all it does is it's just something you can pay a fee for so that you can like have it like, like have like when you're at the airport, you have like a special room you can go into to get like alcohol or like other stuff. And it's really like a scam, but obviously people want it because they like the idea of that status. And there's people who farm that, and they're usually really mediocre people. People like Andrew Tate is literally a loser, like like he's like a sex trafficker, been in jail. He's just scumbag. And he's very mediocre as a person, but he sets himself up as this big giant like god, and like he's trying to prey on people who are dreaming about being that image that he's trying to sell. And so like people go into it and they're already like sold a false belief that they will, if they buy this course, they will be successful, but literally they will never be successful. Because the whole business model is banked on the fact that these people are suckers who are going to spend money just to be a part of some exclusive club so they can get some access to some imagined value that's not going to help them at all. In fact, all they have to do is just start eating right, exercising, making money, saving money, etc., working hard, but also working smart. It's literally something they can do for free. You don't need to buy this to do that. Like, this is just some imaginary hype. And obviously they call them gurus. People like Andrew Tate, they're phonies. They're losers. Similar example, not as much of a loser, but like Buddhist temples, for example. It's basically just some dude or some woman who meditates all day and has like a temple with some gold statues. And if people want to also live there, you already live there, like you've already paid all the rent, like you own it or whatever, but or something like that, or you pay a certain amount every month. But there's other people who want to like live there and meditate and stuff, and you have like quarters for them somewhere. Like you basically just like, oh, you can do that, or you can even just, for them to use the temple, they have to like donate $1 or something like that. Or like they have to like pay to use the temple or whatever, and it's like that's perfectly fine, but it's just like the guy is literally just meditating all day and is like completely broke, and he just eats beans and rice, and he's completely content with that. But you found the happiness through your meditation or whatever on your own, and he just provided the like, hey, you may as well use my temple to do it kind of strategy. He also talks about how like sometimes you like literally just do something to kind of like spark people's interest. As far as like, apparently when he was with like CLG, he would have like parties that are mostly male, that like a lot of like all male, because it's a lot of gamers, and gaming culture is unfortunately traditionally been only like run by guys. But he would like hire like kind of, like attractive women to just go to the parties and just talk to people. Like, nothing like, honestly, like, I would be okay with doing something like more than just hanging out and talking, like maybe something like, doing some dancing, with some, maybe even more. But that wasn't what was going on. It was just hiring people to just show up and be in the party. And then, it was popular, it sparked interest because like, people, people who were like lonely men and stuff, found interest in, an event that had a lot of like attractive women in it. Or some attractive women. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. But basically, I think I have one more thing to talk about, which was right here towards the end.
I think that it really helps people succeed. It's a relatively low barrier of entry at like $20 a month or whatever it is, and people get a lot out of it. And I like being there to answer those questions. And sometimes, like, this video wouldn't exist if it wasn't for a friend coming into one of my really good friends actually coming into the mastermind and just be like, hey, I'm thinking about these two things. Like, let's throw, like, and this video wouldn't have existed. So the fact that I'm there as that personal touch, that would have never happened with a product, right? Like, I would never have been able to actually get that, like communicate with him, get that idea back and forth, and then toss this video out, which now is providing value to hopefully 1,000 people that are on the Patreon. That's great, right? Like, that's something I couldn't get if I was not selling it on.
Maybe 1,000 and a few and change if anybody views my video. But you know, Devin stated before he's okay with people sharing his Patreon videos. He does this because he wants what he offers to be spread out in the world. And this isn't his primary income source. He runs an ad agency, co-owns an ad agency, and that's his primary business. This is something he does as a hobby, and he enjoys it. I'm glad he enjoys it because I like what he makes. I like talking about what he makes. If you like these kind of videos of me just watching Devin Nash videos and talking about it, I'm going to do more. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I think at the end of the day, it's really important to think about like what exactly you're trying to put out into the world. And this goes beyond business, because business is like, life is business, which also means business is life. It's like when people say like, you know, like, less is more. Well, doesn't that also mean that more is less? Because if less equals more, that means that more equals less through the, what is it called? The additive property, or I don't know. Because if something equals something, that means it doesn't matter which side of the equal signs it is. So it's like more equals less is the same as less equals more. So if less is more, then more is less. If that makes any sense. All right. Thank you for watching. If you watched this whole video, may God have mercy on your soul. No, I mean, if you watch this whole video, make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more content like this. Anyway, I'm going to take a break for the day. I'll see you guys next